Hey guys, this is Brenden Whittacre here again. I am just 3 days post ATP check ride at this point. I got a pass on the first whirl, so that I'm super excited about that. I'm still riding the high, and I get to keep working on this G1000 material, which is awesome. So I do have quite a bit of experience on the G1000, so a lot of this was a refresher for me. But it was a couple of new topics that I was not able to experience when I was using the G1000 itself. So it's good for me to refresh myself on this material. So I'm going to kind of just dive in to what we watched video-wise last week, and also kind of get into what we did this week. So I do enjoy the G1000. I think it's a great system and setup. I know there's a bunch of different versions and models of the G1000. Unfortunately, the two G1000s that I have experience on were the older hardware models, which means that I didn't have all the access, for example, checklists. Last week we watched in our video about checklists and how you can go through them, and how I guess you could say convenient they are, really, for making sure that you're not missing anything. It's one less paper to have inside the cockpit, one less thing to miss, and it's being able to press each button to allow it to go item by item, and if you accidentally goof, you can go back and deselect that item. It really is just another sign to, or another means, I guess I should say, to help you be a safer pilot. That's not something I was able to do, but I really like that. The transponder was awesome. I flew a Piper Archer and a Diamond DA40 that both had the G1000. The Piper Archer did not have this function where you hit a certain speed on your ground roll and it automatically switches from ground to altitude mode. On the Diamond, it did. So it made it very convenient when you were doing, for example, touch and goes or full stop taxi backs, where you plan to get off the runway and taxi back. That was very convenient for us. You don't have to sit there and keep swapping the transponder around. The audio panel and the radios, I kind of like what Mr. and Mrs. King have to say about that. Really, they are just like any other unit that you've ever used, whether you're using a Garmin unit or another party's unit. The big knob, the little knob, it's all about the same across the board. Big knob for big numbers on the left side of the decimal place, and little knob for little numbers on the right side of the decimal place. And when I was teaching my students, that's one thing that I used to teach them. And when they figured that out, it was pretty self-intuitive at that point. Flight plans are just like any other device. It really is just a different method of showing what they look like. Building the flight plans are not very hard. One thing that I did like on these videos, that again, because I had an older model and I was not able to take advantage of, was the VNAV. I love VNAV. I'm just getting off the Learjet that had an amazing VNAV. I'm getting into a Challenger that has another amazing VNAV, but to use VNAV in a G1000 on an autopilot coupled aircraft is awesome. I couldn't even imagine flying, let's say, a 172 with a VNAV profile that you can build, modify, or add in there. That is just impressive. It really is advancing technology that is really cool to see. So that is something that is new to me, is the VNAV profile building. Functions such as a direct to, again, it's really the same across the board for any airplane that you fly. I really like the section talking about VOR and using your OBS to set your CDI. Important functions. I know they didn't really cover about it a lot, but bearing pointers are also really big. You start looking at instrument approaches, dual VOR approaches. If you don't have DME, you can use VOR to get the radial off of another one. Well, you get a bearing pointer set up, and there you go. You're good to go. You can figure out where you're at on your approach or your intersection waypoints via a secondary, bearing pointer. And the fact that you can have both of them running on the same HSI is awesome. It just frees up a lot of work for you. Your scan can be reduced from a large picture to a much smaller picture, and it again makes your flying far safer. Something that I use quite often, as I still use in the jets. I really like to fly what we call green needles, or raw data approaches. Flying GPS approaches becomes very standardized and very easy to do. So it's always good to challenge yourself every once in a while. And that's another function that the G1000 will let you do. You can continue to be proficient in flying the old school non-GPS raw data approaches. And you know, when we talk about using the nearest functions, that one actually saved my bacon once. This Piper Archer that I flew, I live in Las Vegas, and I flew out to Portland, Maine, right on the coast right there, and they had me fly it all the way back to Las Vegas. Someone was buying it and bring it back, and well, I'm cruising through the northeastern area, and a line of storms just kind of came up. I didn't have any weather radar of any form. They weren't forecasted, and I had to kind of just turn around. You know, I was instrument rated, but these were kind of nasty. And fortunately, you know, I had the ability to use that nearest function and find an airport that was suitable to my needs, because they provide airport name, distance, direction, runway size. All of that is vitally important when figuring out where you're going to have to divert and what could become an emergency very quickly. So the G1000, again, I'm flying very advanced jets, but the G1000 is still always very impressive to me. And because of that, I'll be thankful to all the time that I have in it. Again, I'm excited to keep learning more about the G1000, because I definitely don't know everything about it. I'll talk to you guys later, guys.